Welcome, everybody, to a very special edition of the Not Your Average Investor Show, where we do the JWB Guest Investor of the Week. And today we've got a guest investor that's a little bit of a local legend around here. She is our favorite ex-lurker in the chat that is now our favorite name to pronounce. She is an administrator down at the Massachusetts Bay Transit Authority. Get me if I'm wrong. She invested in real estate secretly behind her family's back the first time, and now she is one of the community favorites here. Erin O'Neill steps into the light today. Welcome to the show, Erin.
Oh, great to be here. Thanks, guys.
Great to have you here. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez. With me, as always, a guy I like to call GC because of his genius concepts, because he knows how to generate cash flow, and because he's a great co-host, and because his name is Greg Cohen. Say hello, Greg.
Hello, everybody. Great to be with you.
And in the studio also is our phenomenal community manager who brings us the moments that matter and has earned the MTM nickname because her name is Madison the Magnificent. Say hello, Madison.
Hi, everybody.
And as we are all trickling in today, I love the love fest happening here in the chat already for everybody here, for Erin, since everybody knows her. She's been to our events today. And the other love fest that's happening, we were just talking about numbers on YouTube.
Yeah.
Our subscribers on YouTube keep on growing.
Yeah.
Our views on YouTube, we had 10,000 views last
month.
Yeah, like pretty prominent stuff. So if you're watching on YouTube, we love you being there. If you haven't checked out the YouTube stuff, that is where we take the shorter forms of the show and put it into little golden nuggets, we call them, and YouTube shorts, and people seem to love it. So if you haven't checked out the YouTube, check out the YouTube. And if you're on YouTube, go to NYAIS.com, sign up, come to a live show, be part of the audience, because we like to kick it off with a little tradition of welcoming everybody. Erin, do you know what the little tradition is that we start the show off with?
Roll call.
All right, we got Lita Song in the house from Minnesota. Hello, Lita. Good to have you here. We got to come up with a nickname for Lita.
We're working on it.
We got the Shaw man of the Not Your Average Investor.
Nadeem Shah.
Nadeem Shah. We got the leadoff hitter batting third today.
Mr. John Henning.
Mr. John Henning. We got the MVP. You heard of the MVP, Erin?
Yes, Lee Bishop.
Lee Bishop, everybody. Everybody knows the MVP. I know you know Big Earn.
Oh, yes. You don't want to know how long we've known each other, but
I do want to know. How long?
We met in preschool, actually.
Oh, man, wow. I love that story. I love that story. Ernie Apperly, good to have you here. Who else we got in here? We got Marilyn Cotterman from Homosassa, Florida. You know what goes down there?
That's the home of the manatees, Pablo.
Home of the manatees. We got to swim with the manatees one day. We got Cody Adams in the house, the mama bear of the Not Your Average Investor Show marketing team. She's actually here. She's actually here. Look at that. That's Cody. All right. Who else we got? We got our regulars, Greg and Rosalind Riley. Gary and Carrie.
Come on. They're regulars, buddy.
I'm freaking out. From Marietta, California in the house.
We regard you.
We got Leo Ferraganan.
Dun, dun. No. Dun, dun, dun.
Leo, good to have you in the house. Who else? We got David Blattner is in the house.
All right, David.
Good to have you back. Who else? We got Hervé Francois, our old boy with a what up, fam. Hello, Hervé.
What up, Hervé from Jersey?
Good to have you in the house. Who else we got in here? All right. Man, so much love in here. JC's checking in. Good morning, JC. Good to have you. We got the Maven from the mountains of Denver.
Leslie Wilson.
Good to have you in the house. We got the first family in the house, the patriarch and matriarch, Ken and Carolyn Malin.
We salute you.
All right, let's do this. I feel like I'm going to lose track of this chat because there's so much love happening in here. Good to have everybody here. You know what happens right after Madison?
I think I know what happens.
Time. I'm not on my game. You know what? I'm just nervous to be here with Erin. I'm just excited to have Erin in the house, and I'm really excited for Madison to share good news. What's the good news, Madison?
All right, everybody. The good news today is just a shout out to another prominent community member. I don't know if he's here today, but Mr. Dean Curry, the early bird. Him and his wife, Nancy, put their 10th property under contract.
No way.
Which makes them JWB royalty, and their property management fee is now 8%.
Yes. So congratulations to Dean and Nan. Amazing. We've had a wonderful relationship, and he has earned the early bird moniker as he was the very first person to show up at the last Not Your Average Investor tour.
It was.
1 to 4.
Or the one before.
Oh.
There we go. And just such a pleasure serving his family. But I will say, getting to that elite status, we call it royalty, and that, elite status here at JWB, it's actually a program. So when you get to 5 JWB investment properties, we drop your property management fees from 10% of the gross rents collected down to 9%. And that's where Dean and Nan have been for a while. But then they just stepped up their game with that 10th property. When you get to the next phase of JWB Elite, then we drop it from 9% down to 8%. And when you think about the effect of this, as rents have continued to go up, and now they own 10 properties, this saves them thousands of dollars a year on management fees. That, the other way of saying that makes them thousands of dollars a year in cash flow just by getting there. So super, super excited. Thank you for the trust that you put in our team for so many years. And it's just great to be a part of your financial portfolio.
I'm just a little bit jealous of that.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
We'll get you there.
I want to get to 10 with you. I want to be, what is it? Royalty?
It's called JWB Elite, but
Elite.
yes, your royalty as well.
Elite. That's awesome. You know what I call that, right?
What do you call that?
I call that good news. Thanks, Madison. Thanks for sharing. All right. Speaking of more good news, we got Erin O'Neill into the house. We finally got you to come on the show with us, Erin.
Well,
Super
yeah,
excited
no,
to have you.
I made sure I turned a lot of the lights on, so I hope everybody I got enough light. And I did hear from Dean just before the show, and he said he was traveling. He'll watch it after. So.
I love it. The community, that's we don't hear about that. The fact that y'all text each other when you're going to be on the show and stuff like that. That's cool. Erin, when did you first get interested in real estate? Tell me the real estate story.
I don't know. I just knew that it was, something that I guess I was watching, like a lot of people watching Fan and, those.
Fan Merrill from Fortune Builders.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, that's pretty good. And I thought, I'd love to do that, because you hear that. And then you'd hear his infomercials. And I've got to say, though, before I did Fan's program, I actually did another program. We won't go into that. But suffice it to say, I didn't buy any properties with them, but it was just a bad experience. And so it took a couple of years, but I decided, I know he's really good because I've seen the shows and I thought, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go down and see what it's all about. And when I went to one of the programs, I actually met a lot of nice people. I met Head to Weeks. He's with the Passive Investment Club, I guess. And he actually got me pretty much enrolled in the Fortune Builders program. I met Paul Shively at one of the events. So, yeah, but it was really great. It's been really great because the best part is actually meeting a lot of nice people that you have a lot in common with. And actually, the best part was meeting you guys, because you guys have really helped me, which I didn't. I mean, I guess if I can do this kind of thing, so can anybody, because I just can't believe that I actually did this and it's actually working out really well. So, yeah.
And I can't wait to share. I don't know if you've seen all of your numbers, but I can't wait to share how well it's working out. So we're going to get to that.
Yeah. No, that I'm curious.
For those who are new, tuning in when we get to do a client journey and a guest investor like this, we're able to share how Erin is able to benefit from all 5 profit centers. So we even take a look at how much her homes have appreciated, which I don't think Erin's had that conversation yet or recently. So she hasn't even seen how well her returns are. So we're going to take a look at that. But, Erin, I just think about the journey that you had, and I'll kind of fill in the pieces for those who are not familiar with Fan Merrill, Fortune Builders, and our relationship. And, Fan was a mentor to me, is a mentor to me. He was the very first mentor in real estate that I ever had. And that relationship started almost 18 years ago, before there was a JWB. I happened to meet Dan. From that relationship, we still are good buddies. I was just texting him yesterday, and we're still good buddies. But through that relationship, we've been able to grow our businesses together. And I've earned the trust of Than and the Fortune Builders community, so that when they have a client that should have rental properties in their portfolio, they make that introduction to JWB. And so Erin's journey is something that's very familiar. Many of you in the audience, I'm assuming, have a similar experience. And it all starts with good people. There's really good people at the Fortune Builders group, and then through that trust and that relationship, Erin came to JWB, and then it's just really special when you get to work and serve clients like Erin. I remember meeting Erin for the first time in our lunchroom when we had the client tour and whatnot.
And
what were you thinking when you came down the first time, Erin?
I was telling Pablo, you came up to me at lunch and you said, could you do video for us? So you do. And I said, well, I would love to, but I really can't, because I didn't really tell my brother that I did this, and I didn't want him to be surfing YouTube, or Facebook, and find that, and he'd be like, what's Erin doing on there? That kind of thing. But obviously my brother knows, my cousin Jim knows, who's a lawyer, and he's a financial planner, and he's actually read all my my documents from you guys, and he says, oh yeah, no, that's great, and I'm doing fine. And actually the tax savings is what really helps me. I see it every time I do my taxes, because I pay very little, if nothing, and I've gotten, my refunds they grow every year, so it's fine for me. Have
you turned into somebody like me, where the best thing you can be doing late on a Friday night or whatever is just read about tax savings? Do you love tax savings that much now, Erin?
Not as much as you do, Greg. I'm not a tax person, but I'm sorry, but not as much as you. Never as much as you, Greg.
Yeah, that would be a little weird. I don't think there's many people like me.
Never as much as you.
You're able to take advantage of the tax savings that are a part of this asset class.
Oh yeah, and I've looked up the properties on different real estate sites, and I just can't believe that because of the pandemic, I think too, that they've just skyrocketed in value. And I was like, whoa, because you hear about it appreciating, but not that much. And but when I look at the first property and I say to myself, I actually own that. And the second property, but I just couldn't believe it. Actually, when I took the tour that day, I went with Mike Stewart, and I had to ride in his car because the van was a little too high for me to get into. So we took a tour, and he took, I think it's on his phone, that he took a picture of me in the house, and I was just like, had my arms up like this, and I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I did that on my own. And this is after I was almost 50, and I had been divorced for a few, and so if I can do it, I think anybody can do it. And I'm also, physically handicapped. So it's just been really great that.
I think it's incredible. Your story is the best, right? Like I would love to know. I guess I have two questions. I'll start with one. You're 50 years old, and
I was 50. I'm 53. And I was actually, I had gotten divorced several years, years before, and physically handicapped. And I I worked in Boston. Obviously, I still work in Boston, but I'm at home now for a time. And you had to travel back and forth. You had to take the handicap transportation. And it's about 45 minutes outside of Boston, that kind of thing. So there was a lot of different challenges as far as trying to, and I said, I can't do some of the, wholesaling and the rehab. I'd love to be able to do that, but you have to really have the time to do it. Yep. And I just was like, I can't do this, but I really want to be involved in this kind of thing. So I had to look into the passive investment, and it has really worked out wonderful for me.
Basically totally answered my question without me having to ask it. Like this idea of no, that was it right there, right? Like I was going to ask that you're 50 and you have a full-time job and you have all these complications, like how are you able to do it? I think what I heard from you is you knew you wanted to get into real estate, and you knew that you couldn't do wholesaling because you can't just be like, go driving around and whatnot. You probably didn't have the time to be active in it. You had to find a passive solution.
I tried that. Like I got involved with one of the guys at Fortune Builders, and like I talked to him and everything. And he's like, if you send out so many letters and this some kind of thing. And I tried that, and you spend a lot of time doing it. And I didn't have a partner to help me with letters, and I did. And the thing is, I got a couple of responses, which was, I guess, a good thing, but they were basically, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to take my house? And just, I remember one guy was like, oh, don't call me, you're one of those flippers, aren't you, kind of thing. And it was just so bad. And I got a text from some lady, and she said, well, how did you get my nut? That kind of thing. So I'm like, and I come home at night, and I was so tired, and I was so like, and then I said, I can't do this, but I really want, and I was like, let me see about, these passive investment. And I didn't know if I had enough money to do this, and I still haven't read Rich Dad Poor Dad, but I did get to read the first, I think, 2 chapters. And one of the things is Robert Kiyosaki said, you say, how can I do this, rather than, I can't do this. And so I said, well, I have a little bit of, I have some CDs and that kind of thing. So that's what I did. I basically, when I had talked to them, I needed so much in my end. So I looked at my account and I said, I'm going to do it. So I just took out the CDs. I still have one or two, I think one left, but I just took out the money. I said, I'm going to do it, because I'm going to regret it in a few years if I don't. I'm just going to regret it if I don't try to do this. So I did. And I signed the papers, and there it is,
Erin, I think your story is such an inspiration, and you've said this a few times. If I can do it, anybody can do it. I just think that you have overcome so many challenges that usually stop many people. And, most of their challenges are mental. They can't give them, they don't have the courage to do something that is a little bit outside of the beaten path, you know?
Well, that's what I was doing. You know, that's what I felt. I said, you get to these things and you kind of stop yourself. You want to do it, but you stop yourself because you think, well, if I do it and you know, but you never do it.
Yeah.
And then I said to myself, I want to stop doing that. And if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it. And I'm just going to stop doing that and see what I wouldn't.
So if you could give one piece, if you can take yourself back there where you're having that conversation with yourself and you're saying, I'm not going to stop here. I'm going to do it. If you could take yourself back there and give somebody one piece of advice who is that same moment right now, what would you say to that person?
I would, and this is, I mean, this is true that they're not, you know, incentivizing me to say this. I'd say if I could do it sooner, first of all, I would. And I would just say, do it. I would say, you know, do everything you possibly can. And if anything, you meet so many nice people. Your community and your staff and just everybody on the Facebook group is great. I mean, just going to the meetups, I've met so many nice people. And it's something that you wouldn't normally do. I want to say that I brought Ernie with me to one of your meetups. And because he's kind of interested in that, but he hasn't gotten to a point. And he loved it.
Yeah.
He loved it. I think you have a new partner, and he loves the buildings, Greg.
Right.
And he loves Pete's Candy Store. And I'm so grateful that the girls took care of him that day because he just loved it. And he loved meeting Jen and her mother and Lee and everybody. I mean, it's just, and he's waiting to invest. He says, I want to buy a house down in Jacksonville. So when I come to town, I can stay there and I don't have to stay in a hotel.
Right.
He said, because I want to, you know, that's what he's waiting in. But I want to thank you very much for just including him.
Of course. You know, it was really special having you here. I mean, people don't realize that in the beginning of this show and the beginning of doing a tour, we've done 2 tours so far. We didn't know if anybody was going to show up in the beginning.
That the last time we had a little bit of a snowstorm in Boston.
Oh, I remember that.
We left and our plane was canceled. And then we got on another plane that we had to switch planes in New York. And it was late in the evening. And we did not get in until early Friday morning and then go on the tour. So it was quite a thing.
I remember that.
And then just trying to get Ernie's wheelchair, and that didn't work out very. So that was quite a thing. But we got there. Once we got there, it was great. He loves you guys. He really does.
I thought it was especially interesting to get Ernie's perspective as well, because he hadn't been a part of the community before, and he really hadn't been exposed to our methodology of investing all that much. If I remember correctly, he was more interested in commercial investing. And the feel that I had was he didn't really know maybe Jacksonville all that well. He just knew that you loved working with us and he was here to support you. And so when I got to sit down with you guys, I think it was Friday when we were doing a little bit of a happy hour before the Saturday event last time. And I sat down with both of you. I was immediately drawn, of course, to you both, but I immediately was like, wow, I'm really interested to hear Ernie's perspective because he's not necessarily in the bubble yet. But by the end of the tour, I remember you came up to me and just said, I am so excited that Ernie sees what I see, that he is as excited about JWB, and he's as excited about Jacksonville and is as excited about this investment. And I thought that meant as much as anything of that day, because, you know, it was somebody who just happened sort of to be there. It wasn't necessarily there because of all the event and Jacksonville and investing and all that. By the end, became a believer. Right. And I thought that was super, super cool.
Well, yeah, no, because he knows about that. He's more into, well, it's the building rather than, you know, that kind of, and he tells me more about the commercial versus the residential part. He says he wants multiple units rather, you know. And I said, well, you could do one at a time just to start off, you know.
Yeah.
But he loved you guys.
I'm excited. You know, we're working on the next date. We don't have the date nailed down completely yet, but it'll be most likely in February of next year. Still working on a few things.
GC, you want to clear up a little bit about that idea of how people think about commercial and multifamily and how you can translate that thinking for single family?
Yeah, you know, there seems to be this just kind of like thought process that like residential, single family residential investments in rental properties is good, but it's just a stepping stone to get to something bigger. You know, and it might be multifamily or apartments or commercial. And what I really challenge people to do is to make each decision that you make with your money and have that be the best risk adjusted return. And after doing that and understanding, and I do invest in commercial and I do own apartments and multifamily.
Yeah, no, he was very impressed. He looked around some of the buildings that we toured and he told me that you looked in his face and he says, you like commercial, don't you know?
I could tell he did.
Yeah.
and I think that's great. Each just make sure you're making the decision to invest in that asset for the right reasons. And it's not because, you know, your friend of your friend of your friend says that, you know, commercial's better, or it's not because you're going to draw, you know, more pride in, you know, a picture of a commercial building than a picture of a single family rental home. You know, make sure you're making the decision because it's the best risk adjusted return for you. And seeing the landscape, you know, I have landed on single family rental properties as being the foundation of my overall financial portfolio. And I still don't get why people, you know, feel like it has to be a stepping stone. It's an asset class that you have incredible opportunities with leverage and tax savings, and you have more consistency when it comes to home prices going up, and you have less interest rate risk. I mean, we've seen interest rates in single family rental properties go up, but home values are still going up too. And, you know, commercial has its own set of challenges. Apartments and multifamilies have a different set of risk, especially when it comes to interest rates and things of that nature. So, you know, I just think it can be the foundation. It doesn't have to be something that you look at, you do a few and you're like, oh, on to something bigger and better. I just have yet to find a reason. Here's the reason. People like economies of scale. Right? Because what many people believe is that from a single family rental property perspective, they can't believe that they would actually own 2 properties like Erin does, and she lives thousands of miles away, or 5 or 10 or 15, and think this could be enjoyable. Right.
Which I plan to buy more. I have to
when the time is
figure
right.
out the numbers, but yes, I do plan to buy more.
Well, so let me ask you, right? You're planning on buying more.
Yes.
You have an opportunity to do other types of assets, to do, you know, syndications or commercial properties or other things. There's a lot of ways to do that with the same amount of money that you'd be putting out to buy a single family rental property. Why do you continue to choose investing with JWB and single family rental properties, Erin?
I don't know. I guess because the properties that I have now are doing so well, and it's working. Over the last 3 years or so, I've obviously begun to realize, and I trust you guys, and I've told multiple people that you guys are really good, that you own now over 5,000 rental properties, that you have so much under management, and that you were in the Wall Street Journal twice. I mean, come on. I mean, not too many companies can really say that.
when that happened for the first time, I was that guy. I went out and I bought like 100 Wall Street Journal papers and I sent them out to like my mom and my dad. And then I kept like 98 in my closet, just, because I want them. And then I just found them, by the way. That was like 10 years ago, the first time we were written about. And I found those not too long ago in my house.
Not just the Wall Street Journal, the front page of the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
To hear that you've got all the business awards and things like that, that's pretty impressive.
Thank you. It's incredible to have your trust. None of that stuff matters unless we're able to build relationships based on trust. And that's, out of the reason why you decided to continue to invest with us, I would imagine that's probably the number one thing. I mean, that's what brought you from Than over to us. It was you trusted Fortune Builders, their recommendation. We're a byproduct of that relationship there. And then we've been able to form our own trusting relationship.
Yeah, I would recommend you guys.
That you would recommend a company that's owned by a Pittsburgh Steelers fan?
Oh, I see. The thing is, my sister-in-law is actually from Foxborough. She actually grew up in Foxborough. So they are diehard Patriots fans, although the last couple of weeks have been really bad. But
we don't have to talk about that.
Yeah. I won't throw salt in the wound.
But the thing is, in my brothers, we're Bruins fans, Celtics fans, that kind of thing. So,
every once in a while, I'll get a message from Erin, and it'll be something about how the Bruins are beating the Penguins, or I haven't heard much about the Patriots lately, but I used to get those about how they were beating the Steelers.
Bruins won last night, though. I saw the game.
That.
I saw the game.
Yeah.
It's so rare to find a Massachusetts sports fan that's passionate about all their teams. It's so rare. Erin, we love it. Erin, do we want to take a look at your properties and your investments and how they performed?
Yes, I do. I've been waiting for this actually, because I really haven't. I know they're doing well, but I haven't really looked at the numbers.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at it right
better.
now. Yeah.
Even better. I'm really, really excited. And just curious, Erin, I know that you said you pulled money out of CDs in order to have the funds to be able to invest with JWB here. Do you remember what your return on investment was that you were earning on those CDs?
At the time, I think it was either 1% or less than, because it was, I remember when I took them out, it was like maybe 3 to 4%. And then obviously the interest rates have gone, down. At the time. Yeah. So I don't know. It was really bad. I was like,
you started to invest in 2020 when interest rates were, the Fed was at 0% or interest rates, the Fed funds rate. So those other rates were way low.
Obviously I had to pay some type of penalty to take it out. Yeah. But obviously the girl that at my credit union, that I talked to, she said, well, that's a good reason to take it out if you're going to invest in property. Yeah. So, and they were the ones that, they're really good. They're the ones, my credit union, I have the mortgage for my house here. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I took it out and it was obviously worth it.
So and that's what I encourage a lot of folks to do. Many people say the number one reason they can't invest is because they don't have the money. But when we sit down and we actually look at their financial portfolio and do a financial review, we understand that the money is there. It just might not be performing over there the way that you want. For Erin, I'm sure at some moment she was like, wow, 1% for a return on my investment from a CD. That's not really going to help me accomplish my financial goals. So on one part, Erin, keep that 1% in mind when I share what your overall returns are with JWB. And for everybody else who's listening, use this as an opportunity to think about what your returns are doing. Go and see what your money is performing. Hold that money accountable, that it should be working for you. Look at how consistent it's been and look at what the return on investment is. And then be open. If that's not working, just because other people say that it's, not normal or not average, be open to asking questions like Erin did, because you might find yourself on the Not Your Average Investor show 3 years later with a success story just like Erin. So, and without further ado, why don't we take a look at what Erin's done here?
Let's take a look-see right here. Erin, this is your life.
So Erin, you started to invest in 2020, like we were talking about. You own 2 properties with JWB. And here is what you've been able to earn from all 5 profit centers. So we're going to start with net rental income. Erin, could you give everybody just an overview of what does net rental income mean to you?
Oh, well, I would just say that, after I pay my bills and expenses, that's what I end up with. So
That's it. That's perfect. Yeah. That's it, right? You've got rents that are coming in. You've got expenses that have to be paid by the property, and it's what's left over, right? It's another way of saying positive cash flow. Erin, great job, by the way. I totally put you on the spot like that.
I know. I almost had a freeze, but I was.
You did great.
That was good.
And you answered it perfectly, right? So that's what's left over, that net rental income. And over, I think it's about 3.7 years, if I remember from looking at the numbers here, you've earned $8,924 in net rental income. And that's after things like maintenance costs and vacancy costs. That's after things like property management fees.
Yeah, I've had a couple of maintenance issues, not really that big. And I didn't have an eviction, but one of the tenants couldn't pay right away. So, but they worked it out, and they're good tenants. And I said to my property portfolio manager, I said, well, I really want people to stay in the properties, and I want them to be comfortable in the properties. And
I hear that a lot.
Actually grateful in 2020, because it was right about the pandemic. I said to the property portfolio manager at the time, I said, just tell them I'm really grateful that they picked my house, because it's right at the beginning of COVID and all that kind of thing. So
we talk about what an inspiration you are, Erin, too. And, just overcoming whatever is in your way. And let's go back to 2020. People were scared. It was the pandemic. I was scared. We didn't know what was going on.
I said to myself, I just did this, and a month later this happens, and I didn't know what to do.
But once everything kind of settled down and we understood that safety wise, for the most part, we could operate in some way, shape, or form, then we had to get down to the business of how are we going to prepare for ourselves financially today and in the future. And you did that. You did that in a way that is not average. And when we're looking at net rental income, you've earned about $9,000 here. So incredible job at a really tough time to make decisions. Sure. You did a great job. Next up, we've got tax savings. I won't put you on the spot for tax savings, Erin. That one can get sort of complicated. And if you have questions specifically about tax savings and single family rental properties, that would be a great reason to reach out to my team. You can go to chatwithjwb.com and we can get more in depth and show you how you're able to save on taxes. But just high level here, the asset class of single family rental properties built in has these incredible tax savings that you just don't get in other asset classes. And what you're able to do is to have write-offs that offset that net rental income that Erin was earning. And what that does is it reduces her taxes so that she doesn't have to pay taxes that year, and it defers them down the line, which is always what we try to do with taxes. And I remember early on in the show today, Erin, you talked about how you love tax time because you pay next to nothing in taxes. I would imagine that.
Yeah, well, it's funny because 1 year I paid, I think when I was investing with you, I paid. Now, this was the state of Massachusetts now. So I owe them, like 1 year I paid $8. $8. Okay.
Really?
This is the state of Massachusetts. Okay. Now,
highly tax state.
Right. And I think last year, I think I didn't have to pay, because my tax person said, well, it balances out, so, and I actually got a good check, back. So I was very happy with that.
Absolutely. Right. That's why CPAs and accountants talk a lot about how important it is to own real estate. It's because they want to look good for you too. The way they look good for you is having all these write-offs so that you could have an experience just like Erin, where you could pay $8 in taxes. And so you help them do their job better when you buy an asset like a single family rental property.
That's tough in Massachusetts to do.
Mhm,
You
percent.
know, I was like, really? Am I? The tax person, she said $8. And she said, oh, yeah, you got to mail a check to the state and it's $8. And I said, I looked at it and I'm like, really? And I had to look at it multiple times and I just couldn't believe it.
Well, they still make you write a check, I guess, apparently, even for $8.
I was like, but
Yeah.
I've gained so much from it that it's just great.
So the good news keeps going. You know, many investors never think about principal pay down. Pablo, what's principal pay down?
When your resident pays down your loan for you and you gain the equity on the behalf.
100%. And you know what? We want to treat our residents like gold because it's great to treat people well. And that's the reason that we do it. And then, oh, by the way, when we do that, our residents also pay down our loans for us. And that is incredible. And so Erin's loans on her 2 properties have been paid down $12,887 by her residents, you know, by her providing wonderful housing, of course, coupled with wonderful property management by JWB. We're able to create great living situations for our residents. And then from an investor perspective, our loans are paid down by residents paying rent to us every single month. So everybody can win here. And it's really, you know, it's really, really impactful. Erin, many people, and I would love to get your thoughts on this, Erin, many people, when they're buying rental properties, think only about cash flow.
Right.
But if we look at tax savings and principal pay down, there's about roughly $20,000 of returns just in tax savings and principal pay down.
Well,
and
yeah, no, I mean,
pales in comparison, or that makes the net rental income, even though it's great, it's a question of why does everybody focus so much on net rental income? So what do you think about that, Erin?
The cash flow, I guess I'm getting isn't that much, you know, for a prep, but you get so much in the taxes and just having somebody pay it down is great. You have to pay some things, but it's awfully nice and it appreciates. So, and you have the actual house and it's great. It's great.
Well, that brings us right next to a perfect segue to home price appreciation. And this is where your returns start to really skyrocket, Erin. So when you look at what the values of the homes are today versus just call it 3.5 years ago where they were, you've earned $64,750 in home price appreciation. Congratulations. How do you feel about that?
Oh, that's awesome.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, that's basically a whole year's worth of like salary, basically, you know, and yeah.
And go back to, you know, the first swing, let's say, that you took at investing in real estate was more on the active side, and the experience, you know, was challenging because it's a lot of work. And, you know, people say, oh, well, I want to do the active side because I can make more money. It's been 3.5 years. And if I total up the numbers there of how much you've made, it's almost $100,000 that you've made in 3.5 years. And you didn't have to do all that work of folding envelopes and, you know, talking to, you know, sellers and all that. I mean, what do you think about people who say, well, I'm not going to do the passive side because I want to make bigger returns? What would you say to them?
Well, it's like, well, do you have a full-time job? Are you tired at the end of the day?
Right.
You have enough time to, you know, spend with your family or do what you want to do and that kind of thing. And it's great. I mean, I know a friend of mine, she and her husband own, I guess, some properties and they were fixing them up a few. And it's like, why do you, I mean, I don't know. I mean, they are, I guess they had them and everything, but it's like, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And
a lot of work.
She said to me, oh, well, you invest in this. And she said, are you going to move in when you retire? And I said, no, they're for investments,
Mhm.
that kind of thing.
I started off as an active investor too. Many people do. And it's hard work. And if you're passionate about it, go ahead and knock yourself out. Be an active investor. And, hopefully you do really well. But, I think the learning lesson here is don't close the door on passive. Don't come up with this idea that you can't earn great returns on investment by being passive in real estate. You obviously can. And, Erin's a great example of that. The last profit center is inflation hedging. And inflation hedging is not something that I throw into Erin's returns because it can get somewhat complicated, and then flat out, her returns are awesome, even if I don't include it. But inflation hedging is simply owning a hard asset that goes up over time along with inflation. And that's because as the cost of goods and services go up around real estate, home prices and home rents tend to go up as well. And so you have an asset that it's a hedge against inflation based on what it is. And especially as inflation is higher than we would want or expect, especially as it's been over the last year, this asset has really shown itself to be incredibly valuable for a hedge against inflation. All right, Erin, are you ready to see what your returns have been?
We're doing the whole return, or we're going to talk about the pie real quick?
Let's talk about the pie first. Man, you are great at the anticipation thing.
Listen, I've done this thing a couple of times right now. This is the share of returns. This is our famous Pac-Man that we like to talk about, right? Like in blue over here, Greg, is the rental income. Over here in red is the tax savings. Over here is the principal pay down. And over here is that home price appreciation that we talk about. And when you look at it, we always call it the Pac-Man, right? Because when you look at the share of where your wealth comes from when you're investing in this asset class, and it's a pie chart, it's always, there's the mouth of the Pac-Man, and the mouth can be open or closed or not, but the bulk of it, the Pac-Man, the actual main event over here is always the home price appreciation. Holds true with Erin just 2 years in.
How about that?
Yeah. 3 years in.
Every single time we have done a show with a client journey and a guest investor, it has always landed right here. And this is the takeaway for everybody. When you hold on to your real estate portfolio, your single family rental property portfolio, and you hold on for, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, you're going to look back and your pie is going to look similar. Between 60 to 80% of your return on investment will be driven by home price appreciation. And not all markets are created the same. There are markets that are poised to grow more. There are markets that have grown more over the last 40 years. And those markets will lead to higher home price appreciation for a portfolio. So again, if we go back to the normal way that average real estate investors think they spend so much time nitpicking about cash flow, yet they buy properties in markets that have slow or no growth. They are literally picking up pennies and stepping over the dollars. And if you work with the right team and you work in the right market, then you'll have a pie that is just like Erin's here, and you'll earn a better return on investment. And that's what we're all after. A better risk-adjusted return on investment. Our job here is not to make the most cash flow, right? I love cash flow, but if I could make slightly less cash flow and I make more from all 5 profit centers and I have a better experience doing it, wouldn't we all love that, right? Amen. That's what Erin has been able to do, Erin. So Erin, here are your numbers. Your total JWB investment, including the down payments and the closing costs on your 2 JWB investment properties, total $69,750. From all 5 profit centers, you've earned $94,195 to bring your total portfolio value for JWB up to $163,945. Your total return on investment, your IRR, is 34.2%. That means your money has earned 34% year over year over year, and almost the last year here, as we're almost in your 4th year. How do you feel about that?
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So you took that money that was earning 1%. You did something that was not easy to do, that was not normal, and you turned that money.
It wasn't easy. The process with you guys was great. Actually, signing the papers to close on the home with just being so far away was a little challenging, but I wouldn't change a thing now.
How has your investment with JWB changed your life?
Oh, it's great. I can feel a little bit better about retirement now. I'm still working, but I can still, I'm not really worried about, I'm worried obviously, but I can see that, I have a little bit more money to do things that I want to do. It just eased a lot of the what do I do in retirement? How are things going to be? How am I going to deal with the next 20, 30 years, that kind of thing.
Sure.
And I actually am very impressed with everybody that's my age and not the 20 somethings, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but I'm actually very impressed with the amount of people that you have as clients that are in their 40s and 50s and beyond. I mean, the Malines and Jen's mom and everybody, wow. It's just...
It goes to show. People say, well, when's the best time to invest? When's the best time to invest? The best time to invest is yesterday. Doesn't matter how old you are. The best time to invest in real estate is yesterday. Obviously, as a part of your overall financial plan and good things to do there, of course, that's what we do with folks. We sit down, we build out a plan for your real estate portfolio. But if it's the right move for you to be putting real estate in your portfolio, stop kicking yourself and saying, oh, I'm going to wait for this to happen. I'm going to wait for home prices to come down, or whatever you convince yourself that's going to happen. Buy it with a great provider, plan to hold on for a full market cycle, and you're going to wind up just like Erin.
I only wish I had really done it a few years sooner, really. Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
I started when I was 23, and I still say, man, if I only started to buy when I went to the University of Florida and when I was 18 years old, this would have been even better. And we all do that. So
yeah.
Right.
Erin, this was great. It was look at that. You're in the light right now.
Oh yeah. See, I got the blinds up and I got the lights on in the house. I was prepared for this.
I love it.
I said I have to put the lights on now.
Yeah.
So
Erin, we had a whole bunch of people in the chat. Like it was hard to get to the questions and everything that was happening in the chat because the conversation was so great. Everybody was super into your story. So much appreciate you doing this. Super appreciate the community showing up for this and all the love that they were pouring in there. And I think everybody left mouth agape when they saw the 34%. So it was a really great reveal.
And make sure you answer those questions now. Make sure you answer those questions.
We'll get back to folks. So what we do with the questions is we punt it for the next portfolio of the week when we don't have a guest on, and we keep a track of these and we'll hit them up. So come back to the show. We'll hit up the people that have specific questions. Teammates will reach out. But I think the most important thing, Erin, is that you have really shown us what not an average investor looks like, right? Like you have overcome all these obstacles, you've made the tough decisions, and you're definitely not getting average returns. So I think that's really, really incredible.
And the thing is, years ago, I was one of those people that my family is one of those people that we were people that you have to really, we study things, but I think I finally just said, I'm going to do it. And it worked out. Now, looking back, I wish I had done it sooner, and I wouldn't change it for anything, really, because it really turned out great.
It's been a pleasure, not just, obviously serving you as a client. It's been great to get to know you. You were here. I got to know you for the client tour. We had lunch together that one day. Apparently, I was looking for a video testimonial.
No, I'll do it now. I'll do it now.
Oh man, I you know what? I am guilty of doing that, by the way. So that is not unlike me.
I just commend you actually for doing that when you were 23. I mean,
well, everybody told me I was crazy.
23. I didn't. You didn't. Most of us didn't know which end was up, but I mean, but thank God you did. And really, I want to say thank you to your team. And the one person I haven't really met yet was Alex, because when I was down there for the tour, when I came for my tour, I guess he was in the hallway or something, and I didn't actually get to meet him. So, but I think he and Ernie would do very, because Ernie's that type of person and he knows a lot about those kinds of things. He just but he's
Absolutely, with his background.
very, very excited about that kind
Maybe
of
next
thing.
time. Maybe next time. Hopefully we'll see you in February for the next one. And, I just want to say thank you. It has been a real pleasure, getting to know clients on a personal level, getting to sit down with you. The best way for us to do that now is really, my team, of course, gets to know every client personally. I don't always get to know clients personally. And the best way to do that now is through the tour. Mm-hmm. Right. Or here on the show, of course, but we actually get to meet the meetup. Thank you. Yeah, the meetup. And I think that our relationship started strong because I got to meet you in the office first, but, really solidified, especially getting to meet Ernie. So thank you for making such an effort.
And thank you for making us feel, especially him, because let me put it to you this way, Greg. We were in preschool even before you were even thought of. So we knew it. Yeah. So we've known each other that long. Mm-hmm. And you really can't say that much, about too many people, about anything really. So to make him feel welcomed is just great. Thank you.
Our pleasure. And our team, that's what we care about. Our team really cares.
He's watching today because I called him this morning and I said, you gotta watch me now.
Oh yeah, he's been all over the chat. We know he's here. So we love having Ernie here. Loved having you on, Erin. And I wanna just say we are welcoming, and we welcome you to join us on Tuesday for the next show. Hope that everybody meets us there. But what's the one thing that they can't do from now till then, Erin? Why don't you tell them?
You can't be average.
We'll see you on Tuesday.
All right.
See you, everybody. Bye.